Cool. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the fourth tasting of the Campania box. We're tasting this guy. It's the last bottle. It's got a buffalo on the front. 2021 San Salvatore Pasteum Greco IGP is what we're tasting today. Just a few announcements before we get into the wine. Speaking of wine prom, a lot of you are coming. There's only very few of you on the call actually right now. It's like, holy shit. All right, whatever. So wine prom is this Saturday, 27th, at 6 p.m. We'll go to 11, and then we'll do after hours in the Black Alley. So for those of you who are coming, you will probably get an email on Friday, the day before, just with some final last-minute logistics, like exactly where it is. You all know it's in the Black Alley next to the Daphne, but just some, entry instructions and what to expect once you get here. So you get all of that the day before. But for those of you who are not attending, you should all join us for the after hours at least. So we'll wrap up at 11. We'll probably hit up some bar around Black Alley probably by 11:30. There's an incredible sandwich and a cocktail shop that opened, Your Only Friend, that's around the corner from where we're gonna have wine prom. So I was thinking maybe nice after drinking wine all night, maybe do a cocktail, just to switch it up. That also may be a terrible idea. We'll probably be feeling quite loose by end of the night, to add more spirits onto it, as we've learned the first wine prom where we ended up at a rum distillery after a wine prom, and that got real messy. But maybe that's what we want. I don't know, but we'll see. But in either way, I'll probably send an email out. But for those of you who are not joining, who are in the area, you should come and join us for the after hours. It'll be fun. Next month. Oh, before I get to the next month. So just so you know, next week, next Wednesday is May 1st. But as you all know, the pickup is always on the first Tuesday of each month, and the tasting is always the day after the pickup day, the first tasting of the month. So next month, the first Tuesday of May is the 7th, which means the tasting will happen on the 8th, which means May 1st, next Wednesday, even though it is a Wednesday, we're gonna have a bye week. So we're gonna skip a tasting. So there are 5 Wednesdays in April, essentially. So we have no tasting next week. And then on the 8th, we'll start with the first wine of next month, which is a Lambrusco box. So we're gonna start with the Lambrusco on the 8th. But just know that next week you don't have a tasting. Okay. Speaking of which, of next month, you all should have gotten invoices that all went out last week. If you have outstanding invoice, you got a notice from me already, but I need to wrap those up by end of this weekend. So if you are planning on joining us, go ahead and pay that. If you're not planning on joining us, then just let me know so I can finalize a headcount for next month. But just know that I need to wrap that up very soon. So just let me know. Outside of that, last but not least, 6 Foot Wine Club is committed to donating 1% of its gross revenue to an organization whose mission statement aligns with its values. And this month, we are donating to Capital Area Food Bank. It is the biggest food bank in the DMV area. So if you want to learn more about what they do and you want to donate alongside 6 Foot Wine Club, the link is right there in the chat box. Go and check it out. If not, that's all good too. Any questions about anything I just went over before I get into the wine? All right, cool. In that case, bang, bang. We're tasting this guy, 2021 San Salvatore Pasteum Greco IGP is what we're tasting today. It's really, the name is San Salvatore 1988, but I'm just gonna call it San Salvatore. Right, so the map. Here's a map of Italy, right? Should look pretty familiar by now. We've been looking at this map every week this month. And we're in southern Italy, and we're in Campania. We're right here. We're in this area. Particularly, so the first 2 weeks we're right by Naples. We're just south of Naples the first week. Second week we're right by Mount Vesuvius by Pompeii. And then last week we went inland into the mountains for the Fiano, the Avellino. And then this week we're going south, so we're down here. So as you can imagine, it is a quite large area. We talked about Campania being the third biggest wine producing region of all of Italy. So it's quite large, quite significant in terms of wine production. But we are down here this week. I'm gonna hold on. I wanted to also share the Google map itself because I was looking at it earlier. So looking at the Google map, this is where San Salvatore 1988 is. So Naples is right here, right? So here's Pompeii, here's Mount Vesuvius. This is where we were the second week. And then we went in to Avellino, just north of Avellino, near where Tufo is up here. The Irpina, Avellino Irpina area is where we were last week, right? And then this week we're going south of Salerno to near Pasteum, which is exactly what this appellation, the Pasteum Greco IGP, is named after, right? And then this is where right into the mountain. This is all actually national park, so quite a hilly. Here you go, Cilento National Park. So we're getting into the kind of the mountainous area, but you get this kind of a both effects of elevation here going into the mountains, as well as a moderating effect of the water. So you kind of get best of the both worlds, right? You get all that ripening of the warm weather and the sun and all that Mediterranean influence of southern Italy. But because the elevation and going into the foothills of the mountain, you get that diurnal shift, which is the temperature difference between day and night. And the cooler night keeps retains the natural acidity of the wine, keeping it really fresh and vibrant and all of that. So yeah, so, as you can see on that map, San Salvatore 1988 is located right there in the foothills of the Calpazio mountain, hence the name Calpazio. That's written on the label. Very typical Mediterranean climate here: warm summer, mild winter. That it gets up to 500 to 600 meter above sea level here, so it gets quite a bit of elevation in certain parts. This particular vineyard where this comes from is more like probably right around like 250 to 300. But the overall, this whole the Pasteum Greco IGP, as well as other vineyard sites that the San Salvatore holds, they get up to 500 to 600 meters above sea level. So we're talking about pretty varied elevation and its effects on this wine here. Let's talk about who makes this wine. So San Salvatore 1988 or San Salvatore is an organic agriculture passion project started by a local successful hotelier. His name is Giuseppe Pagano. So rather recent. I guess depends on what your definition of recent is. It's a project that was started in 2006. So he runs a very successful restaurant and hotel and agro tourism business here in this region. But in 2006, he bought this land to start this farm. And he talks about how he saw the buffalo and then the buffalo saw him. Hence this kind of a ode and kind of a respect to the water buffaloes. And it's even on his label. But they farm 149 hectares devoted to organically farmed agriculture, including vineyards, olive groves, fruit trees, as well as a bunch of feed crops to support their 750 head of water buffaloes for their mozzarella production. So he was first and foremost actually interested in making mozzarella. And then he realized that there were these vines and vineyards that have been here since the Greeks. Paestum is one of the old Greek cities. That was one of the first cities that Greeks have landed on this part. So there's a lot of Greek influence here. and also we're going to talk about that in a second. We'll talk about Greco. Yeah, hence the name Greco. But yeah, from there he realized there were all these old vineyard sites around where he was. Decided to make wine as well, and this whole operation, the San Salvatore, they're really recognized for their sustainable farming practice, not only in the region but also in all of Italy. They've won all kinds of awards and whatnot for all the cool stuff that they do. One of the things that I found really interesting, and this is something I personally kind of had some experience working on a self-sustainable farm in Costa Rica, which was they take all the basically buffalo poop and they put it in a biodigester. It's basically a fart bag, and then they use that to power all their appliances, stoves, and ovens and things like that, which is pretty cool. Anyways, I want to show you this video of him. By the way, this video is super long. If you ever go to the Bainville, which is the importer, which their name is in the back of this bottle, their website, and look up San Salvatore, there's like a 25-minute long video that kind of goes through different aspects of the operations and him, Giuseppe, and all the things. But I just want to show you this particular section, just a 2 to 3 minute segment, kind of shows you where this comes from, the Pasteum, the site. It's quite beautiful, and then I think it gives you more appreciation for where this wine comes from. So give me 1 sec. There you go. There.
Quando abbiamo preso questi terreni, che erano circa 25 ettari, ci siamo dovuti far carico anche qua di un'opera di bonifica straordinaria, togliere rocce e pietre che non rendevano il terreno coltivabile per impianti di viti. Alle spalle cresce una montagna di oltre 550 metri dove si vede il mare di Pasteum, tutto il golfo di Salerno fino alla costiera amalfitana e Capri. Solo dopo ci siamo resi conto che queste non erano solo bellezze ma era anche bontà. Nel senso che per avere un posto ideale dove impiantare vigna bisogna avere proprio queste prerogative, avere un terreno calcareo argilloso pieno di scheletro che dà tanta mineralità all'uva, una montagna che cresce dietro le spalle che ti dà una grande escursione termica notturna, molto importante per l'acidità che poi deve avere l'uva e quindi che si trasferisce nel vino, che poi alla fine significa longevità. E poi un mare in fronte che ti fa prendere 2 volte la luce attraverso il fatto che i raggi del sole specchiano dentro l'acqua, e ancora la salsedine, il salmastro che ti viene dal mare tutto il giorno, dalla mattina alle 9 fino alle 6 di sera. Tutte queste cose fanno un pacchetto di ingredienti così particolari e così straordinari che alla fine siamo stati veramente fortunati. Tutte queste cose ce le ritroviamo in qualità, in profumo, in aroma nei vini. Vai a fare 2 passi in vigna perché hai bisogno di stare tra i filari, dopo ne esci illuminato che si può fare questo per migliorare qualcosa. Per me questa è comunicazione, è un'interpretazione, un parlare senza voce, no? Un parlare col pensiero.
There you go. If you want to watch more of all of that, here, I'll put it in the chat box, and then you can go and watch the full 25 minutes. The first part is in Italian, without any closed captioning. I don't really know why. The one is the second half has a English closed captioning, but there you go. Check it out if you'd like to. All right. So what is this wine? It's made from 100% organically farmed Greco, which is an indigenous grape variety of Campania. Not really grown anywhere outside of Campania. There's a small amount of plantings in Campania's neighboring regions, so Puglia and Lazio. But mostly when you hear the name Greco, it's really Campania. It's particularly we're talking about Campania, Greco di Tufo, which is where we were last week. In fact, the producer, the fiano de Avellino that we tasted last week, the producer is really well known. Their flagship wine is actually Greco di Tufo. We tasted their fiano bottling, but their Greco is really what they're known for. And I will include that in the case club next month. So if you guys want to get a sense of what that tastes like, but this week's style is what really spoke to me for many reasons, which we'll get into in a second. But like the Malvasia grape variety group, the Greco variety group is one of the most confusing sets of grapes in Italy. What I mean by that is that, Malvasia particularly, there's so many different Malvasia the Ottanel, Malvasia dell'Istria. There's so many different Malvasia that are associated with different things. So people don't know, are they actually the same thing? Are they just related? Are they mutations? And then similar thing kind of exists with the Greco. So a lot of many unrelated grape varieties in Italy were given Greek sounding names like Greco, Graciano, Grecanico, Grechetto, all these things because they were all thought to be of Greek origin. Or because they were used in wines made in the kind of quote unquote Greek style, which is that they use now Italians use this pretty widely, not just in areas where Greeks landed, but all the way up in northern Italy as well, where they air dry the grapes first, like a passito style, they call it in Italy, which is they lay the grapes out in mats, let it air dry a little bit just to concentrate the must by cooking it, and then also, or adding resin or other flavors into the wine, like a lot of Greeks used to do. But because those grape varieties were used in that style of a Greek wine, that a lot of people thought it was of Greek origin. So a lot of the wines varieties in Italy actually have a Greek sounding names, even though they have nothing to do, they didn't originate from Greece. And Greco is one of them. The most important Greco grape of southern Italy, known simply as Greco, is found mainly here in Campania. But like I mentioned, the most kind of a highly regarded, sought after one comes from Greco di Tufo DOCG, which is grown on a volcanic soil. So that's another difference. So Greco di Tufo is basically Greco grown in volcanic soil. This one is grown on more of a calcareous clay soil. So naturally, you're going to see a lot more fruit on this one, as opposed to Greco di Tufo. You're going to see a lot more structure, a lot more acid, a lot more mineral, a lot more texture. The Greco wines in general are quite age-worthy, can be quite complex, usually full-bodied, powerful, has that kind of similar oily olive oil kind of a texture as last week's wine, Fiano, but it also has an even higher acidity than Fiano. So Greco di Tufo that I tasted from last week's producer was fantastic. It was delicious. It's everything that you are seeking for in Greco di Tufo. But particular reason that I chose this week's style is because I often find, well, two reasons. One, Greco di Tufo, I often find it little too austere. And I say that as somebody who enjoys austere wines. And what do I mean by austere wine? Is less fruit forward, a lot more structure driven. So when it's really the acid, texture, tannic structure, all these different mouthfeel, all these things is what I really enjoy exploring in white wines. So even as somebody who enjoys those style of wines, Greco di Tufo, I sometimes feel like it can be too austere, or sometimes it is too serious. It is just made in this very kind of it should be aged. You should lay it down for a while, approach it with respect, and reverence and let it kind of spend its time to kind of fully express itself. But I've never had Greco where it was immediately kind of expressive and youthful and full of fruit, and it's just kind of a delight to drink. And it's like all the Greco de Tufo you can find. It's very common to find Greco de Tufo. It's very easy to find it. So next time, if you want to try that style, again, I'll feature in Kids Club. But if you also just go out to a restaurant or a wine shop that has a decent Italian portfolio or Italian book, they should have Greco di Tufo, and you'll be able to find that style of really high acidity, full body, kind of like the full oily olive oil texture kind of a thing, which is awesome with a lot of minerality. But this style, I find it a lot more rare. I've never personally had it. In fact, I've never had a lot of Greco outside of Greco di Tufo, and maybe that's why. Maybe Greco in other parts of Campania is more like this style, but I just haven't really come across it. But this one really spoke to me because of its kind of a freshness, youthful vibrance, and then expressiveness. So I figured, let's try that. Also, it has a buffalo on the label, and I like buffaloes. So there you go. Anyways, this is 100% Greco, organically grown Greco. And then we go through this technical side of the wines, and it usually tells you a thing or two about what the winemaker's intent was. So they put this through a cold soak. They call it cryo maceration. It's a fancy word for basically cold soak for 6 hours. So they basically crush the grapes, let the juice and the skins come in contact for 6 hours. So technically, could you call it orange? Maybe, sure. But 6 hours is really nothing. You're not going to pick up anything. But what I'm interested in is that it was a cold soak. They put a temperature control on it. They set the wines, sit there for 6 hours without letting it start fermenting, which tells me whenever you hear winemaker doing that, it's usually to preserve these kind of really fragile, delicate aromas and flavors. So just even looking at that, you can kind of infer from that the winemaker's intent with the style of this wine was to keep all the kind of varietal, delicate, aromatic character of Greco. Spontaneous fermentation, so all just indigenous yeast in stainless steel tank, aged in stainless steel tank for 8 months. Then the wine does get a little bit of fining using bentonite clay. And part of the reason why it's so like very, very clear, translucent. But again, looking at that, inferring from that, no oak, no cement. We're talking about very impermeous, absolutely no contact with oxygen, basically. Stainless steel tank, both for fermentation as well as aging. So what that tells me is that this is all about 100% varietal character of Greco, not less and less about the treatment of the wine. What they do with it is just a pure fruit characteristic of the wine. The variety is exactly what they're trying to do. And I think it comes through. It's actually kind of a beautiful example of what Greco can be without having to put it on, barrels and let it age for a long time. It's just a very different style of Greco that you find on the market. The Greco de Tufo versus this particular style. So that's what we got. Any questions about the wine or tech side or anything else, this region, before we get into tasting? Perfect. Hearing none, let's taste the wine. All right. Who wants to take the appearance?
I'll do it.
All right.
So let's see. Clarity would be, let's say, fair, mainly. It's clear, yeah.
Yeah, I'll call this clear.
And then intensity, it's hard to see
Sorry.
that's okay. Pale. Pale medium, like in between there.
Okay.
So that
That's what I would say.
yeah,
Yeah, not ton of color here. Yeah, right?
okay. For color, I can't see the
Yeah.
I'm gonna say like lemon, white lemon.
Totally. I think this is like a pale gold, medium lemon, even like medium minus lemon. It's like, yeah, it's not super yellow, but it's got a tinge of like the lemon. So I'll call this about like medium lemon is what I would call this probably.
So what time are we getting back? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
My son was talking.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say about white lemon. Well, white, it's like more clear lemon,
Yeah,
right? Kirsten's not no help to me at all tonight. So yeah, that's what I got.
cool. You get to pick the next person for the nose.
Let's see here. Let's see. Let's see. Here's the other.
Can't see anything.
Okay, here we go. Oh, Julie and Dan, are you up for it?
Yeah, we can give it the old college try.
Okay.
You've done this once or twice before.
Which one's a good night? So which one are we getting back?
Okay. This wine is clean.
This one is clean. This one is sound. Intensity.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah, right? It's
Yeah.
very expressive.
Yeah, like medium plus, maybe.
Yeah, I'll call this medium plus as well. Like I smell it.
It's like, yeah, a few inches off.
Yeah, I'm gonna call this medium plus as well. Medium plus intense aromas of. What do you got?
I'm really bad with the florals. I mean, I know there's floral there.
Yeah. I believe there's flowers here, but I don't know what they are.
Yeah, to me, there's some like a little blossomy, like honeysuckly, that kind of a thing going on here. Yeah, something like a pretty white, blossomy, kind of like a, flower of a fruiting tree, kind of a thing going on here.
Okay.
Also, people are like, I have some people that are like, this is an apple blossom, not like a,
That's
like
too
a pear blossom. I'm like, Jesus, how do you, I don't know if I could tell you the difference.
I don't know. I don't know what flowers smell like. Is something I've learned while being in this wine club. So,
all right, green fruit.
there's some green fruit in there.
Yeah, agreed. What do you got?
Like green apple, pear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
green apple.
Totally.
I mean,
100% agree.
I feel like you're gonna say quince, even though I still don't really know what that smells like or tastes like.
So, like to me, quince is. So I mean, yes, quince has a very unique smell. If you don't know what it is, you should go seek it out because it's a very, very unique thing.
Okay.
But to me, quince is like oftentimes I get like a pear with a pretty decent layer of like a blossomy floral kind of a thing on top. When those things smell together, oftentimes it's like the closest thing that can describe the quince
Okay.
without telling you what quince smells like. But quince is a
Also-
very unique smell.
This is the first time that I'm realizing that grape is on the grid, and I feel like that's cheating. Like,
I just noticed that too.
Actual grape.
I mean, can't you just always say that? Like, it's not
Yeah,
wrong.
I mean, you can
Tell-
ask, but like,
you can't tell me
what a
it's
grape?
wrong.
Is it, I mean,
Uh,
here, is it like Concord grape? Like what are they, what is the grape that?
Excellent
Well,
question.
It has to be a green grape because it's
Yeah, excellent question. It can be like a Thompson C grapes or Concord grape. You can go as far as specifying that as well. Oftentimes when I've heard, like this pops up very rarely, but oftentimes when we talk about grape, is usually with like a Muscat variety. So when we get into like the
where it
mus
just tastes like juice.
yeah, Muscat becomes just very, very, I mean, it's a super aromatic, expressive variety. And then in there is this kind of like Concord grape or like Thompson seed, like just actual grapey grapes. So
I'm gonna say grape from now on.
yeah, just grape. What does it smell like? Grape. All right, citrus.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, I
lemon.
think it's
Yeah.
more of the like zest than the
Yeah,
juice.
agreed. I get like pretty like ripe, like Meyer lemon, right?
Mhm.
Orangey lemon kind of a thing there, for sure. Any stone fruit?
Maybe maybe a little bit of like peach or apricot.
Yeah,
It'd be
I think so.
like a underripe, right? It's not like a ripe peach or anything.
Yeah, agreed. I get like that, like white peach.
Yeah, like a white peach. Yeah.
Yeah, um, for sure. I got some stone fruit here as well. Any tropical?
I don't think so.
No. Any red fruit, black fruit?
Nope.
Nope. Nature of the fruit?
Fresh.
Yeah, like ripe mostly.
Yeah, fresh, bright, ripe. Yep, all those things. Any herbaceous, herbal, green, savory kind of thing going on here?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
No.
I think this wine is just perfectly, again, this goes back to like just really impeccable farming. Like there's nothing that is here underripe. Everything just feels really fresh and ripe and bright. So yeah, all of that. Nothing savory, all of that. Any spice, any stoniness?
Maybe a teeny bit of that. No, I don't know. I think that's it's more on the mouth where you get a little, I don't know,
Like flintiness.
like not flintiness, but I don't know. I don't know the right slate. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of rockiness here for me, at least on the palate. If anything, I would expect to see some salinity coming in when we get to tasting it. Just because it's, you know, again, could be a power suggestion, but knowing how close this is to Mediterranean Ocean and so
Yeah.
this influence that has on the wines, and just the wines in this region in general, that has a better bit of that kind of salinity running through. But at least on the nose, not a whole lot of like a rockiness at all. It's really just really fresh, ripe, just a lot of fruit, really, really ripe fruit. Delicious smelling fruit. Cool. Any secondary, any tertiary things here?
No.
I don't think so.
Me neither. This is way too young for to have any tertiary. Even on the secondary, this has spent very little amount of time on the lees. I don't know how much MLF it's gone through. I tend to think probably not a whole lot. If anything, it would probably be partial. Definitely no oak. Everything has been completely stainless steel. Again, this is all about maintaining or retaining kind of like the natural varietal character of Greco and its purity. So it makes sense why we're getting a lot of this kind of the fruit and then the primary things going on here. But even within the primary, we picked out quite a few things: floral, green, citrus, stone, you know. So there's just kind of layers here. It's not just like a one note kind of wine. Excellent. Great job. You get to pick the next person for the palette.
We'll volunteer.
I was gonna say, we were gonna follow the Brady Bunch roulette, but you guys were right under us anyway, so it was gonna be you guys regardless. Go for it.
Perfect.
Excellent.
All right.
Green notes.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Just switch it around.
Switch around.
This wine is dry.
Definitely dry.
Acidity.
I think high.
Medium plus high.
Yeah, it's like bordering on high here. It's got a lot of acidity here. And this is something that you guys should know about Greco. I mean, Greco is just naturally has really good acidity. It's just what it does. And part of the reason why it does so well in a very mineral poor soil and shows mineral character very well is because it's high acidity. So yeah, this is like definitely medium plus, bordering on high. But yeah.
No tannin.
And
I think medium, I would say 13.5 maybe. I don't think it's over 13.5. Actually, what is it? I have the bottle
You can check
right.
it. Oh, 13.
13.
Nice, nailed it.
Body.
I
It
think,
has some body.
yeah, I would say medium minus or medium. There's like a texture to it.
I'm gonna call it at least medium. As the wine warms up, it will probably get bigger. My wine, the rest of my bottle is cold, but the wine that's in my glass has been sitting in my glass for a while. But I can tell the body assessment from when I first opened the wine and tasted it versus now is feeling much fuller. It's just because my wine's gotten a little bit warmer. But I'm gonna call this at least medium, if not bordering on medium plus. It's got some weight.
Yeah.
Got that oily kind of like a weight to the wine.
Yeah. It like coats your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mousse, you don't have
No
to
mousse.
worry.
What is mousse?
Bubbles.
Oh,
Yeah.
effervescence?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the different levels of
A creamy
the
effervescence. Wow.
bubbles in
Okay. I wouldn't have thought to
champagne.
describe it that way.
Flavor intensity.
Flavor intensity, I would say, I mean, I know we haven't gone there yet, but I would say medium plus. Like there's a lot going on.
Very expressive. Yeah, medium plus at the minimum. This is also, I feel similarly with intensity on the nose. I mean, I think this is like bordering on pronounced, but yeah, medium plus at the minimum. I'll probably call it medium plus right now. But again, as the wine warms up, you may get even
Could be more. Yeah.
pronounced. But yeah, I'm gonna, as of what the wine that I have in my glass right now, I'll call it medium plus. All right. Do you confirm everything that Julia and Dan called out? Is there anything else that you guys get? Something different than what you smelled?
No.
The jasmine.
Jasmine and the
Yeah.
floral. That's not
think-
on the list.
Yeah, I think the jasmine is a good call. Like a blossom, jasmine. It's kind of like a aromatic white flower kind of a thing. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm. And definitely the salinity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah. Yeah, salinity. But
Yeah.
the lemon, green apple, pear, apricot, white
Is
peach.
kiwi on there? I'm getting kiwi. Is
Yeah.
is that allowed?
Yeah, I don't see kiwi on here, but if you get kiwi, fucking call it. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm calling kiwi.
Yeah, no red fruit, black fruit, dried fruit, none of that. I don't really get any green notes either.
Yeah. Yeah, no green notes. Like fruit here, it's just so fresh and ripe. It's like
Yeah.
the peak of the season, perfectly ripe.
Super fresh, super ripe.
Yeah. And as far as the minerality goes, it's like that. Yeah, it's like a layer of salinity, little saltiness.
Mhm.
But what I'm finding interesting here on the palate, which is a little different from on the nose, and then now that I'm going back into it, I'm getting a little more of it. But I don't know, on the palate, I have this kind of like a chamomile, bergamot, that kind of like a tea leaf kind of a thing going on here a little bit. But
Like
Bergamot, yeah.
earthy
Yeah.
floral.
I don't know what chamomile really tastes like, but bergamot, I know what that smells like, and it does taste like the smell of it.
yeah, so
Like a green citrus, but like ripe, not tart green.
yeah, and then that's what I find interesting here, that we're calling things like jasmine, blossom, but then also bergamot, like chamomile. There's a lot of different layers of floral kind of a thing going on, which is cool. But yeah, any secondary, any tertiary things?
I don't. She tasted butter
Tiny
a little
bit.
bit. The
The fir-
feeling to me feels like MLF, but I can never taste it, so I don't.
It was
know.
only, it was like the first sip. Now that we're into it, I'm not getting that anymore. But the first
Yeah.
sip was like, oh, this reminds me of Chardonnay in a way that's like just the butteriness
Yeah.
a little bit.
I mean, it's possible that the winemaker put some malolactic. I don't think it's a full malo here, but some partial. So yeah, you may have a sharper palate than any of us. I also have notoriously terrible palate for MLF, particularly on the nose. I can like never smell butter, cheese, cream. If
Same.
anything, it's just like a textural thing that I taste. So if you're getting it, then then you're getting it. That's great. But on the palate, yeah, when we're talking about the kind of, I mean, this is a structured thing more than anything else too, but it's like there's certain like roundness. The acid doesn't feel like super sharp here. Like there's a lot of it, but like it's not super sharp. It's not like jagged edges, like jabbing you in the mouth. Like it's pretty velvety, and again, it kind of goes back to that like oily textural kind of thing, like olive oil, like drinking like a mouthful of olive oil as opposed to like a lemon juice. It's like a very different kind of feel. Yeah, it's just very pleasant, very velvety, very soft, oily, that kind of texture, which is cool.
We did pair this with the mozzarella and the olive oil.
Yeah.
Good.
Did it work?
Yeah,
Really good.
really good.
Good. Finish. How long is the length?
I would
It's still
say
in my
medium
mouth.
plus at least. Yeah, I feel like it's lingering, but I can't quite remember. I know you had said like timing. There's like it's broken down into seconds, kind of, is how you can gauge it. Yeah, I would say medium plus at least.
Yeah, it's actually got quite crazy length. I don't remember this length being this long, but this is actually quite. Yeah, I'm gonna call this medium plus as well. All right, take it home for us.
Okay.
How good is this? And would you age it?
Here's where I struggle in my class.
Okay.
So I do think it's really well balanced. I think the length is really good.
Mhm.
We called medium plus almost long.
Yeah.
The intensity we called almost on the border of pronounced, and then complexity we called like all kinds of things. So I would say this is very good, even bordering outstanding, but I would call it very good.
Yeah. Agreed. I'll call this very good. If anything, if this wine was a little more complex, maybe it showed a little more secondary, tertiary things. Again, this is in the grid world. This is in the Debussy world, according to their definition, what a good wine is. It showed a little more complexity. Maybe if there's a little more intensity or length on here, it definitely would put me right into outstanding. But I think this is squarely puts itself into a very good territory because of the intensity, even though all primary, but quite a bit of different layers of things that are going on there. Yeah, so very good quality. Would you age it?
If this were on my test, I would say drink now, not suitable for aging, but I think it could age because of the acidity. I just don't know if it would particularly get better than it is right now because it's
Excellent point. So to me, why this wine is delicious is because of all that fresh, ripe fruit and then fresh, bright, ripe fruit. Sure, like you mentioned, it has the backbone of aging, is that good acidity here, right? And it even has a concentration, it has some complexity. So it has a potential for aging here. But when you start losing this freshness and start turning into some other things, is that necessarily going to make the wine better? I doubt that. Like I actually think this is one of those things, even though it may be up to age, it's not going to fall apart, it's not going to oxidize, you're not going to lose fresh fruit over time very quickly. But I just think it's going to take away from the pleasure of this wine, which is the freshness, ripeness, brightness of it. So I would say drink this now. If you want to age it, maybe check it out for, year or two, 3 maybe, just to see how it changes. But honestly, I would say chill it, eat it with some, buffalo milk, mozzarella, and enjoy yourself. So this wine is delicious. That we might call. Any questions? Any disagreements? Any objections? Excellent. Did everybody like this one? Just out of curiosity? Yeah? Did anybody not like this one? Dave, I see you shaking your head.
I did not dislike it.
Okay.
I thought that it was
Fine.
it's nice for what it is, right? Like
Yeah.
we also had like some mozzarella di bufala and like it was nice with that, but it's that's like the bit that you don't capture. It's like it's great for what it is, but it's not like am I gonna remember this wine?
Yeah.
Really not.
Right. So yeah, for those of you who like this wine, I highly recommend that you pick up Greco di Tufo from last week's producer on the Case Club next month, or just go buy yourself a Greco di Tufo from some other producer that they recommend, and then just taste it side by side. Remember what this tastes like, and then go back and taste it, because they're so different in the completely different kinds of wines. I'm curious to see which one you prefer more. But yeah, real good. Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys had Greco before? Dave, yeah. Okay, cool. Now here's another question, which is meant to be maybe a bit of a jab into you Italian white people who like Italian white wines. If I gave you this wine and last week's wine blind side by side, you think you can tell between Fiano and Greco? Like if I were to ask you now, what is the difference between Fiano and Greco to you? How would you describe that?
I don't know if I could tell the difference because they have similar texture, this one was just more complex, but I don't know if that's because of the winemaker or the grape. But that's really the biggest difference to me. Otherwise, they're very similar.
Yeah. Anyone else?
But they're both definitively Italian. Like I believe that I would get a point for saying these are Italian whites.
Yeah. You mean another way to say they're just very neutral whites?
Sure, but like, but they taste Italian. I don't know. Is that? Yeah. Sure, why
not? So maybe that is the kind of the whole point of Italian whites, right? It's not the case with Italian reds. Italian reds range, amazingly different depending on the stylistically speaking, right? But a lot of Italian whites, it just their differences are so very subtle, and then what Dave's talking about is kind of right. Like you see these kind of white wines and you're like, oh, that's Italian white. I couldn't tell you which one it is, but they're all just very ever so slightly different from each other. And that's maybe the fun of exploring through Italian whites. You can, so once you get to the point where you can really tell the little difference. By the way, if you say what I said, repeat this to somebody who's an Italian lover, they will flip their fucking mind. But it just as a self-professed Francophile, when I look at Italian whites, it's that. It's just very neutral, very citrus driven. There's some here fruit characters here and there different, but like it's very subtly different. They're all very much similar, at least to me.
A lot of my experience with Italian white wine is from 6 Foot Wine Club, and you've always picked really good ones. So that's what I have in my head. And when I was in Italy, I would say like Vernaccia di San Gimignano was really good, but everywhere else I went and I had white wine, it was like, meh, like this is not great. It's just plain because I was so used to everything that you've brought us.
Yeah, so I mean, even the Italian whites that I've chosen in the past, I've been trying to find at least something that's a little bit more distinctive. But yeah, in general, when you start moving around, like when you get outside like Piedmont, Friuli, Campania, the whites start to get real similar. It's just like it's just how it is. But for me, how I tell the difference between Fiano and Greco, because you're right, they're both very kind of that oily, full textural thing. They both got really good acid. But to me, Greco has even higher acid than Fiano. And then the Fiano usually has a little more like oxidative quality, like a little more like hazelnut, as well as like a little basil kind of like a green leafy, just a touch. But again, like that is so very subtle. It's not like you're tasting between, I don't know, Alsatian Riesling versus Oat Burgundy. Like those are two completely different wines, right? But here it's just like it's very similar. So, anyways, I'm gonna stop talking shit on Italian whites before somebody get mad.
I'm going through my notes, on like my Italian whites, and I'm actually laughing now because my notes for each one it's exactly the same. It's like white blossom, like lemon peel, green fruit, like a little bit of stone fruit, and like either minerality or a saline finish for every single one.
Yep, precisely.
With like medium plus acidity.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, again, maybe if you dedicate your life to studying Italian whites, maybe you would be able to tell all these little nuances here and there. But like, to me, they're just like getting a flight of blind wines, Italian whites alone would be fucking terrifying. Like, God damn it. But yeah. Any questions? All right, let's play everybody's favorite game. How much do you think this wine is on the retail shelf? How much do you think you'll be happy paying for this wine on the retail shelf? Six, 23.30. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Hold on. I gotta look this up real quick. Doo -doo -doo. All right. 25, 30, 35, 26, 23, 30, 25, 25, 24, 26. Kylie would pay 18, okay. 28. Wow. Kylie, you're about to fall out of your seat. This wine costs $33 in retail shelf. So, you know what's funny? That I think last week, fiano, I think we were less certain about calling it very good. I think people are somewhere on the fence and all that. I think more people are serious about calling it very good this week. At least I felt that was kind of my reception from getting your response, reading you guys' faces. Yet these are basically last week's fiano and this week's Greco are about the same price. But last week, you guys got the price pretty much dead on, as opposed to this week, your prices were much lower. Now I'm curious why. Right? Like you were so much more quicker to call this very good than last week, yet your pricing was lower this week than it was last week. Why?
I wasn't on last week, but I like this one better than last week's. I
Yeah.
love the acidity in it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I recognize that it's a very good wine. I personally was a little bit, I think the acidity was a little bit high for me to just like sit back and enjoy it. So that's why just me personally, I would pay that much, but I would not bat an eye if it was, 35 or, higher price point. Because I recognize it is a good wine. It's just, I wouldn't pay that much for it because I'm used to like grocery store prices versus when I go out and hang out with Shannon, it's like winery prices. And so I'm coming from a different world.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
so
fair.
$18 in the grocery store is like a pretty good wine.
It's fair. Yeah, it's they're the same price last week and this week. I also have a bit of a soft spot for fiano. Given the same price, I'll probably drink last week's fiano over this one, but they're different wines. They're different given the price, but I'll drink fiano. Italian wines are cheap. All right, Julia. Damn, we're just like shitting on Italian wines today. Just like Italian wines are all the fucking same and they're fucking cheap. They're all cheap, same garbage. Shouldn't have to pay more than $18.
Maybe we should have said inexpensive, but that's what we meant. Like they're just like they retail for lower than French wines.
Yeah. Right, Dottie? Yeah.
That's funny. Any other questions? Cool. We're hearing none. I'm gonna stop the recording.